Live streaming is on.
Okay, guys, good morning. We're going to do a little more subtraction today with some borrowing. So we're going to do some bigger numbers today. So we'll start with this one. 9190 minus 1014. Okay. So when you get a subtraction problem, I mean, first thing you want to do if you're struggling with it, look at the top number and it's minus the bottom number. So what we see is 0 is smaller than the 4. So right off the bat, we're going to have to borrow. So remember, we're going to borrow in this case from the 9, which is in the 10th column. So we're going to borrow 10 ones. That's going to become an 8, and this is going to become a 10. So 10 minus 4 is 6. The 8 minus 1 is a 7. 1 minus 0 is 1. And the 9 minus the 1 is 8. Okay? So 8, 1, 7, 6. Okay. Let's do another one we're going to have to borrow. Over here we'll have 5, 7, 4, 3, minus 2, 5, 5, 4. Okay, so we look at that first one. We know we're going to have to borrow because the 3 is smaller than the 4. So we're going to borrow, once again, 10 ones. That's going to be 13 minus 4 is going to be 9. Then I look over here, and once again, the 3 is smaller than the 5. So we're going to have to borrow from over here. That becomes a 6. That's 13. 13 minus 5 is going to be 8. The 6 minus the 5 is the 1. And the 5 minus the 2 is going to be the 3. So 3189. Okay. So I mentioned this the other day. Whenever your top number, you have a number that's smaller than a bottom number, you're going to have to borrow from the next number over. Okay. Let's do one with the 0 in there. So we'll do 7, 9, 0, 6, minus 3, 9, 5, 0. Okay. So the first one, 6 minus 0 is going to be 6. But over here we have the 0 minus 5. We know we can't do it, so we have to borrow. That's going to be, now that's going to be 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. And now the 8 has become smaller than the 9, so we have to borrow again. So that becomes a 6. That becomes an 18. So that's 9. And 6 minus 3 is 3. So 3956. Okay. So what I want to do now, you guys, this might happen once in a while, and I just want to make sure that you're familiar with it. So say we have 5, 3, 4, 6, 6. But sometimes you might have a comma right there. Let's just say it's 53,466. But you really don't let the comma throw you off, okay? It would be the same whether the comma was in there or not. But sometimes you might see a comma in there. And we're going to do minus 539. Okay. So right off the bat, you see that 6, it's smaller than 9, so we have to borrow. That becomes a 5. That becomes a 6. So 16 minus 9 is 7. 5 minus 3 is 2. Then we get here, the 4. Oh, it's smaller. So we're going to have to borrow. Make that a 2. That's a 1. So 14 minus 5 is 9. And then what we have left over is a 52. So it's 52,927. Okay. But sometimes a comma will be in there, sometimes it's not. But if you see a comma, you want to make sure, don't freak out. Everything else is exactly the same. Let's do one more with a 0. So we'll do 6, 5, 5, 0, 4, minus 8, 7, 4. Okay. So 4 minus 4, 0. We have the 0 right here. We know we can't do 0 minus 7. We're going to have to borrow. So that becomes a 4. That becomes a 10. So 10 minus 7 is 3. Then we get up here, we're like, oh, that 4 is smaller than the 8. I'm going to have to borrow. So that becomes a 4. That becomes a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. And that's a 4. And that's a 6. And you can put the comma in there if you want. You don't have to. It's really up to you. It's exactly the same thing. Okay. Let's do one more here. And then I'll post some of these for you guys to practice. We find one. If we can find another one with 0. Okay. This. So it's just straightforward, you guys. Just so they're not. Sometimes you're not going to have to borrow. This will be 5 minus 0 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then if you have nothing to subtract from, we just bring that number down. So that's 10,405. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful, you guys. Biggest thing is just remember what we're going to do a subtraction. You always want to start over from your right and work your way over to the left. And you're just borrowing from the next column over. And you're, like I said, you're always borrowing in tens, whether it's 10 ones, 10 tens, 10 hundreds, or even 10,000. The next number over you're borrowing for, and it's always going to be a 10, whatever it is, whether it's 10 ones. Like if I'm borrowing your tens column here, I'm borrowing 10 ones. So I just want to go over that one more time with you guys. So if we have like 9, 8, 7, what that would really mean is you have 9 100s, you have 8 10s, and you have 7 1s. So if we had 9, 8, 7 minus 4, 5, 9. So you're going to borrow from the 8, which is the tens column, and you're just borrowing 1 10 or 10 ones, whatever way you want to look at it. You know, so that would become a 7, and that would become 17. And the same thing if, let me do another one, we borrow one more over. If we like, oops, excuse me, 9, 8, 7 minus, so let's say 3, 9, 2. So 7 minus 3 is going to be 4. Then we get in the tens column, and what we're going to borrow, we're going to borrow 10 tens from the 100. So that's going to be an 8, and that becomes an 18. And the 18 minus 9. So you're just borrowing the next column over, whether it's the tens column, the hundreds column, or the thousands column. All right, you guys, I'll post a couple of these for practice. Have a good day. I'm going to start science here in a little bit, right around 10:30. So have a good day. Bye.